Mr. Jeffrey Epstein of America's Truth Forum.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
You know, according to the enemy camp, I am an Islamophobe. An individual who is prejudiced against or has an unfounded fear or hatred toward Islam. A label that couldn't be further removed from the truth. Phobias, by clinical definition, pertain to irrational anxiety-induced disorders that are typically disproportionate to the actual level of underlying danger. On the contrary, my personal disdain for Islam is reality-based and well-supported by an ever-growing body of empirical evidence. Besides, it doesn't take rocket science to develop an in-depth understanding of the imperialistic, totalitarian, and genocidal attributes of that all-encompassing political ideology. Rest assured that the enemy camp is here in full force today. Perhaps the person standing on your immediate left, or on your right for that matter, is a card-carrying member of the terrorist Muslim Brotherhood. One thing is for certain: following today's rally, he or she will immediately file an after-action report with the leadership of one of its various operating wings, be it CARE, the MAS, the MSA, or the ISNA. These clandestine organizations pose a significant threat to our way of life and provide unyielding support to their barbaric brethren overseas. Disturbingly, our own government has been compromised. Significant resources are being diverted from national security interests to running a disinformation campaign that falsely sells Islam to the public as a religion of peace. Nothing could be further from the truth. Allah's warriors haven't hijacked the religion, but actually prescribed to the tenets of Islam in its purest, unadulterated form.
That's right. That's right. Amen.
My personal involvement with the counter-jihad movement dates back to 2005. Until then, I was no different than most of you, oblivious to both the gathering storm upon our collective doorsteps and the true ugliness of the underlying philosophy. Several photographs changed my life forever. Grisly images documenting the slaughter of 3 Indonesian teenagers, young girls that were captured en route to a private Christian academy that they attended by a half-dozen sword-wielding soldiers of Satan. The morgue shots of their decapitated bodies on stainless gurneys are permanently seared into the depths of my mind. Mere children, deprived of both life and future, guilty of nothing more than being born to Christian parents. Islam divides the world into 2 primary divisions: the House of Islam, the nations and lands under Islamic governance, and the House of War, representing the rest of the world that is considered to be ripe for future conquest. The imperialistic agenda delivering the world to Allah is not limited to Asia, Africa, the Middle East, but poses an existential threat to Western Europe, Australia, and the Americas. These third world Neanderthals are not only attempting to force their archaic system of jurisprudence upon us, but truly believe that our lives and property belong to them, free for the taking. You see, Islam only provides 3 options for non-believers: death, conversion, or enslavement. My friends, do not underestimate the power of the Islamic purse. The terrorist Muslim Brotherhood has heavily invested through bribes, payoffs, and political contributions to neuter our national security assets. In return, an army of operatives, apologists, and saboteurs have not only been permitted to infiltrate our governmental infrastructure, but have seized control of the training and investigative processes of the Justice Department, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security. For many, it's difficult to fathom that the primitive followers of a cave-dwelling, sexually perverted sociopath named Muhammad could lay the foundation for genocidal death cult.
That's right.
That would persevere for 1,400 years as nothing more than an ugly blight upon humanity. Over 100,000 innocent Christians are slaughtered annually in Muslim lands. Thanks to Obama's liberal immigration policies, we expect the same genocidal behavior to manifest on American soil once the Islamic population reaches critical mass. Remember the America of our youth? A bygone era when Hollywood not only produced quality films, but created patriotic role models that served as mentors for generations of young men and women. More often than not, damsels in distress were saved by heroes with only seconds to spare, and either evildoers were either brought to justice or sent to hell. Times have certainly changed. Now, place yourselves in the shoes of a young Christian child in Syria, Nigeria, Pakistan, Malaysia, the Philippines, Kenya, Egypt, the Sudan, or the Central African Republic. Your innocence and sense of security were just permanently shattered by bearing witness to the brutal slaying of your own parents. As if that wasn't enough, you're now being sodomized by a ruthless herd of Muslim savages. Once finished, they'll saw away at your jugular with a dull knife to the chanting of Allahu Akbar. The level of fear, emotional trauma, and pain that you experience is beyond description and cannot be conveyed by pen. In contrast to a Hollywood production, the final moments of your life will slip away with the realization that your cries were in vain. No one will come to your rescue. Down in Texas, I bet that most of you would take appropriate offensive action if a similar scenario unfolded in a neighboring home.
Amen.
Listen, due to technological advancements in both travel and communications, the world has definitely become a much smaller place. Arguably, the Christians suffering abroad not only have become your neighbors, but they're worthy of your help. Don't expect Washington to intervene and save Christians from Muslim persecution. In actuality, the administration is preoccupied with empowering and arming their killers across the globe. Sadly, the majority of American churches have remained on the sidelines, muted by political correctness and the fear of IRS reprisal. Other churches simply surrendered control of the discourse by naively involving themselves with interfaith dialogue. Right, Pastor? Bridge-building initiatives championed by insincere representatives of tainted Islamic organizations. We're currently facing a perfect storm of epic proportions. Time is clearly of the essence, and we need to act decisively for liberty, justice, and religious freedom to prevail. By default, the ongoing fight to defend what is rightfully ours has become the responsibility of we the people. Please consider the seriousness of the subject matter being presented today. Then commit to standing as a united force, resolute in the face of an intolerant, brutal enemy that lacks both compassion and conscience. Undoubtedly, Winston Churchill got it right. Islam is to a man what rabies is to a dog.
That's right.
Yes, yes it is.
On a final note, let me be perfectly clear when addressing those enemy sympathizers that are within our ranks this afternoon. Americans have always been a rather tolerant bunch when it comes to accepting religious diversity. That is until that line is crossed when religious mandates of foreign origin are implemented or imposed upon us at the expense of our constitutional rights. The United States is a far cry from socialist Europe. You're not dealing with teetotaling metrosexuals here.
That's right. Woohoo!
A growing majority of Americans have lost patience with your never-ending demands for special accommodations and seditious antics. In particular, your drive to undermine our republic through the imposition of Sharia law. You've had a good run over the past decade or so, but the curtain's about to drop.
Amen. Amen.
The winds of change are shifting, eroding your power base on both sides of the political aisle. Future jihadi acts or attacks against soft targets of opportunity in our military installations will only strengthen our resolve. Americans will never tolerate or be intimidated by acts of terror. You have accomplished little more than waking a sleeping giant. Trust that the flag of Islam will never wave over the White House.
Amen. Amen to that.
At best, the crescent moon and star is destined to adorn the outhouse walls of 10,000 patriotic sportsmen and ranchers across rural America. The ball is clearly in your court. Either assimilate by prescribing to the laws of our land, or prepare to face the consequences for participating in a treasonous subversive campaign. A bloody backlash reminiscent of the Crusades. The choice is yours.
Amen.
Thank you, Dan. I'm now going to introduce